right, Zig coming in on the top. Today on the show, we have Richie Ramone, an epic guest. We have a Ramone on the show. Richie played with the Ramones from 83 to 87, and he wrote 6 Ramones songs, including Somebody Put Something in My Drink. Anywho, he's on the show, and we get a little deep. It's cool. It was cool. I caught him right before a performance in New York, and he spent a little bit of time with us right before their show was about to start. Some minor slapback phone delays, but nothing too intrusive. And man, he's just a cool guy. He's a really cool guy. And Richie's got a lot going on right now. He's got a new EP out, Not Afraid. There's a limited orange vinyl pressing of it. You can go to his website and get the pre-sales on that. He's also got a film out, Cheesehead the Movie, in which it's kind of like a B horror flick. And it's a movie starring Richie Ramone. It's rad. It's fun. Definitely worth an Amazon rent. So you can rent that off Amazon. And there's a bunch of other films that I think he's doing with the same team that are coming out later. One of the B-side to the EP, Cry a Little Sister, the cover from The Lost Boys, is on one of the films. Richie's got some tour dates in Ohio. April 6th in Canton, Ohio at the Buzzbin, and April 7th in Columbus, Ohio at Scully's. Go to richieramone.com for the tickets. We're going to listen to Not Afraid off the new EP, Not Afraid. Not Afraid off the EP, Not Afraid, Richie Ramone. Available on all streaming platforms, and the vinyl you can pre-order for the special orange edition. But yeah, this was a really cool conversation. It was really short, really quick, but, catching homie right before a gig. It was an honor. It was an honor to talk to a Ramone. So if you're in Ohio, Canton on the 6th, Columbus on the 7th, you got to check out Richie's show. Also, there's a ton of other dates in other states. Go to richieramone.com. Chances are he's coming to you. Okay, so before we get into it, a little bit of what I have going on. If you're new to the show here, I play in a band called Sea Level, letter C dash Level. We're playing April 29th at the Beachland Ballroom with the Quasi Kings, and I'm doing a solo acoustic gig at the Beachland Tavern with Mike Pinto, and Uncle Gnarly, our good friend, will be spinning some reggae tunes before. Lots of cool stuff going on, friends. It's been a crazy week. If you haven't caught the episode before, we talked to a misfit. We talked to Doyle. And today a Ramone. And next week, depending on how the schedule pans out, podcasty-wise, we might hear from a member of Fugazi. If not next episode, very soon, depending on how some of these show things go. But definitely, if you dig this, keep on the lookout for that. If you guys can rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on one of the podcast platforms, it helps me keep talking to awesome guests and sharing their insights with you. And dearly appreciate you guys tuning in. And here's my chat with Richie Ramone.
What's happening, Dave?
Hey, Richie, how's it going?
Good. Can you hear me all right with the speaker?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking time to do this, man. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
And the kind of...
Yeah, it's been crazy driving in the city. This is only our 5th show, but all the driving, it's going to be brutal. So...
Yeah, that definitely...
So much traffic getting into the city today. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. Did you guys get hit with the snow?
It was some, but only little flurries.
Okay, well...
It's not sticking. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Cleveland. So this is the only 5th stop?
Oh, yeah. We started on Wednesday.
Nice.
Wednesday. Where were we? In Worcester, Mass. We started Wednesday. So.
Okay. And how'd that go?
Great. It's been going good. Last night, was sold out. Good show in Clifton. Tonight would be great. I mean, this is my home turf here a little bit,
Yeah.
Oh.
Awesome, man. Well, the jump into it, I wanted to start off by asking the musical influence of Lenny. How did Lenny musically influence you?
What do you mean, my brother?
Yeah.
What, did you read my book?
No, not yet.
How do you know who Lenny is?
I did some research, my friend.
Well, I don't know the musical influence of Lenny. I was, my father always said I was 5 years ahead of my time because Lenny's 5 years older than me. So when I was like 8, he was already 13 buying records, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I was listening to all that late 60s stuff and, stuff like that from him. But, Lenny was a horn player. So musically, I was like around horn bands and, funk and all that kind of stuff, at an early age. So there was no, punk in my life as an early age,
Right, but there's plenty of syncopation then if you're around a horn player, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like I've, as far as my influences in my studying and reading music and having teachers since I was 8 years old, I ended up in a punk band that plays, 2 beats, but it's physically demanding now, it's just really, it's nothing like anybody could really do. It's very difficult. People try to like copy the Ramones or, AC/DC, it's easy. Nah, it's not easy just because it's simple like that. It has a certain technique to it. And, not everybody can do it,
Right. Well, there's something difficult about making something simple because everyone can understand it, but it's like shaving away everything from the statue to get the figure. You know what I mean? Like, of course it's a person, but before it was a block. And you got to take away certain things to make it clear and so everyone can understand it. And there's a huge skill within that. So okay, so did Lenny play in any bands, or was he just like a kind of an academic horn guy and like did it in school?
No, he played in lots of bands, Tough Duck and all this. I'd go to the rehearsals and things like that, and he played in many bands. He never, did it, he didn't do it nationally like I've been doing. But yeah, he was a music teacher. He plays like everything. So, yeah.
So what got you behind the kit then?
The kit was, we had 5 children in the family, and my mom made every kid learn an instrument for a sense of responsibility. Back then we didn't have like video games and stuff like that. So I in kindergarten, I used to like, when you had recess, you go over to this dirty box and you pick out a toy to march around the room. But I was always pick out sand blocks or something that made a rhythm rather than just blowing into a fake trumpet or something. And by let's see, the 4th grade, I had my own teacher, and so it went. That was the instrument I picked, drums. So I don't think there's one thing that lured me to drums. It's just something inside, right?
Right. Well, there's something with like drums and piano. It's like, I know how this works. Circle the stick, or you know what I mean, stick the circle, or push key down. It just makes sense.
Right.
That's awesome. So, like after you started studying a bit, because you've been playing in like bands since you were 17, right?
Yeah, earlier than that.
Earlier
12.
than that? 12?
12. I used to go sometimes with my brother's band to the Catskills, the mountains up there, and play in the summer to, I sight read charts that the comedians would bring in, the music and stuff, like 12, 13 years old. I was very young when I was doing this stuff. I had like a special ABC card that would get me into bars where, youngsters could go where liquor was served, and, and all the weddings and bar mitzvahs I played at a very young age and stuff like that, wearing a tuxedo. So I never had to work in Burger King,
Nice. Well, that's the payoff. That's the responsibility showing through.
The payoff is this, people, you don't get any of that shit out of a book. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Live performing is when you learn how to, when you play live, you don't listen to yourself. You listen to everyone around you. People get so hung up on listening to what they're playing, It's like riding a bicycle, thinking about how to put the right foot and pedal the bike. I don't listen to myself playing. I don't even know I'm playing. It's natural. I listen to the guitar and the bass, and that's how I do it. I keep trying to tell the people in my band, just listen to the other people, not just to your guitar.
Right.
So playing live at an early age and for so long is a real, that's a real blessing because I know what to do,
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, as a drummer, you're kind of like one, you're seeing everyone, what they're doing and kind of reacting to it. Everyone's following you, but if someone like, if the bass player starts it off too fast, you're following however they started it off. Or if the guy drops his guitar or something, you compensate for that. And like having that seat, it's kind of conducting in a way. Did that like kind of like at that age, were you singing in groups too? Like, or was that like later on?
No, I don't think I was really. Well, seventh grade, I went battle the bands, singing and playing drums. So I guess, yeah, seventh grade, I had a band. We had some kind of hippie name, and there was a girl keyboard player and a guitar. I don't think we had bass, and I sang. Oh gosh, I don't know. See, that's in my book. I forget what it was. I can't remember. But yeah, so we went battle the bands and stuff like that. So yeah.
So like because like to be able to sing and play, that's like, it makes sense that you can like kind of not pay attention to what you're doing to do that. When did like you notice that ability? Was it from doing all these gigs for so long? You're like, I don't have to think about what I'm playing, and I can attempt to like.
No, it's there's a lot of things that are they occur naturally. I mean, it's not a thought process. Oh, I'm not going to think. The only thought process was when I started playing drums at an early age, my teacher would blindfold me, so I would never look where the drums are to hit them, And so I practiced with a blindfold, and that got me around So, if they're not set up right, like in the Ramones, if they weren't set up right, because we'd come on with such thick smoke, you'd have someone walk you to your riser and your drum sheet. You couldn't see nothing. You couldn't see the cymbal in front of you. That's how thick the smoke was. So when you heard Dee Dee count 1, 2, 3, 4, if those drums weren't perfect, you'd like slice a finger or hit yourself on the rim, and people would hear about it. But so yeah, I learned how to play blindfold. So that's a conscious effort. I would eat. He wouldn't let me, he wanted me to eat with my left hand and everything, but not do my homework or schooling with my left hand, but do everything with your left hand to develop the left hand, because I'm a righty. So it's kind of weird eating with the left hand and whatever, make the left hand dominant. So you got the independence. So you have the independence going. But the other thing just happened naturally. And yeah, in the wedding bands, we were playing all the greatest hits out of, the fake book, they called it,
Yeah.
And so I was singing in that too and drumming. So, but this show now, I can't do this show now just singing behind the drums. I can't be 25 feet back there and engage an audience that way. It doesn't work, So I start off and I play a few songs and sing, and then I mainly front, and then I come back and play a few more at the end of the show, because it just, you got to be out there with them, hitting them in the head.
Definitely, because it's kind of like there's that barrier of the kit,
Yeah, the whole kit and the whole thing. I've done some shows where I remember we were in Europe. I was taking a plane to France for one show, and we're all there, and I'm looking for we had two guitar players at that time. Well, the one guitar player would play drums and then play second guitar when I was playing drums, so he had something to do. I don't even do that anymore. But all of a sudden, the other guitar player wasn't there. He said, go do the gig as a threesome. So I moved the kit out front that was hanging off the stage. People fucking loved it, because they never saw like a drum kit like right on the edge of the stage. But it's brutal work to do that, and but yes, the wood and metal and being far back there, you're never lit up back there. You know what I'm saying? So It's just like, oh, here's like two people. And it's like, where's the singing coming from? It's stupid. So I don't deal with it anymore.
It makes sense. And people there to see you. Like I saw Mike Watt. He does this thing with his drummer now, and they like have you seen that setup he does? He like puts them on the side, and then Watt will be on the other side, and have the guitar guy in the middle, and like he'll try to like bring everyone like 6 feet closer.
Right.
And like, but the drummer, he's not singing. He's he's not the front guy. He's not running the show. He's there, and Watt's just like, you appreciate the drum man, you know?
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's cool. So like, was that kind of like the transition from leaving the kit to kind of fronting it? Was that like a weird, or was that more of a natural transition?
Well, I'm a drummer first,
Right.
I'm not, I don't do cartwheels out there or any of that stuff, but I know how to deliver a message and I know how to entertain, so that's why I'm out front there. It's all about being an entertainer live, you gotta say the right thing and show the love and let people know that you're really interested in them and look them in the eye, and that's what, gets their attention.
Right. It's the connection. When did you meet Larry Velveteen? So from playing in these kind of cover bands, was Velveteen like one of the first kind of like professional original groups?
Yeah, I mean it started. I toured around. We would play Sheridan Inns for 3 weeks and then move on. And I was doing a lot of different, cover band stuff, And then I wanted to get into original music. That's when I became broke, So there wasn't original music. It doesn't pay anything. But it started out in 1980 with the White Boys and Ambulance and, Steve Miller. Not that Steve Miller, but my Steve Miller. So I started playing in that, in that band, and then it was Velveteen, and just kept moving along from there with a few different bands.
And within those, were you just supporting or were you helping write?
I wasn't writing yet. I really wasn't writing songs until the Ramones, believe it or not. So
yeah, that's so when you
Joey said, Joey.
Yeah.
Joey said, well, we're doing a new album, Richie, so you better write. He said, I haven't really wrote anything, He said, well, you better write. So you get some stuff on the record, and that's how it started. Joey was amazing. He pushed me along. He embraced me with open arms from day one and pushed me to sing more and write songs, and it changed my life, man.
So from that intro and when you first met him and you guys are working on this new album, how did you go about writing for the first time after Joey Ramone was like, hey, write some songs? Because that's quite a request.
I never enjoyed writing with people. Well, I was writing before that, I wrote a song for Fred Schneider from the B-52s. I was hanging out with the Shirts.
Okay.
Shirts were another band. So I did write a little before that, but the Ramones, I mainly just, I bought a Casio keyboard, a little tiny keyboard, and that's what I wrote on, ding, 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 ding. And I wrote the song, and then I had Phil Cabano. He's a monster magnet now. All these years, I go to his 6-story walk-up with my little cassette, and he'd add guitar on it, and we pulled the keyboard off after I wrote the song. So fun. But that's how I bring mine in, and everybody would play the songs, and then you take a vote on what you want for the record. That's how it went.
Okay, so there'd be sessions where everyone brings stuff to the table.
Yeah, one session.
One session? That was it for the whole album?
Yeah, you bring to pick the songs. We go up to the manager's office, Gary Kerfitz.
Oh, okay.
So I'll sit there and everybody bought the material. So maybe there was a total of 15 and we picked the 12 or whatever that we were going to do on the record. So, yeah.
Interesting. So there's kind of a middle person there to kind of be well, no, that's it. Go with that one.
Maybe, yeah. I'm sure he gave his opinion. Mm-hmm.
That's because I was wondering, because when I write stuff, I need something some type of harmonic thing to even come up with a melody. And as a drummer, I was I wonder what he's using if you're playing guitar or strumming this out on your own. But it makes sense with a piano because that's kind of that. It seems like drummers have a much easier time getting that two hands going, even if you're just tapping it out, to write something too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started with the piano, and then now I play a little guitar and stuff like that. But the piano is everything. if you're a musician, you should learn how to play the piano because it's the root of all the evil.
So before like leaving, or when Velveteen wrapped up or stopped, Larry, the roadie from the Ramones, he introduced you. How'd that pan out?
He got me into an audition. Like I said, I used to hang out with the Shirts. The Shirts had a three-story flat in Brooklyn, and it was a recording studio and a den, and it was such a hangout place. And Larry was there. I think Larry lived in that house. And it was an afternoon. I said, "Where you going, Larry?" "Oh, going to the Ramones audition." I said, "Well, tell him about me, you know." And he was writing for Mark and told him more about me. You got to get this guy, Richie Bo. He's in Velveteen, blah, blah, blah. And then, I came home one day and my cassette answering machine was a message from Monty Melnick, the tour manager, saying, "Can you come down, learn 3 songs, and come down next Wednesday?" And I think I still have that cassette tape. So,
very cool.
So that's how it went.
So, okay, so you guys get in there, and eventually you get picked up, and like when you're working on these songs, and like right after that session, when you guys decide what you're gonna do, and then it's like hashing them out, or they already like they're written. Let's go.
Yeah, then we go to the recording studio and practice them. We just play before we recorded them. Yeah, they're done. No hashing out, no writing together, 0 of that.
Yeah. Do you think that would have panned out into more? That wouldn't have panned out with that group, or because like it's interesting like to have like all these different kind of dynamics of tunes. Like on Too Tough to Die, like it goes up and down with like there's like kind of a more pop tune, there's a more like rough tune, there's a more like a Dee Dee tune, like.
Mm-hmm.
So like would probably led to more kind of headbutting, you think, if it was kind of a collaborative writing process, or is it more pure?
No,
to keep
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't like collaborative writing anyway myself. I like it with one individual, and I've found maybe 1 or 2 in my lifetime that I could do it with. One's dead, and the other one was Dee Dee. But very, very rare that I should sit down with more than one person, because everybody's brain is going a different way. I know what I want. I know what I sound like, and that's it for me,
Right.
Go write your own song.
I agree with that. I find it hard to kind of like because it's such a vague process of how this happens. You have like either like a song seed, like some line that stuck out in your head, or a melody, or a rhythm, or some chord progression that you kind of just like harp over and like try to hash out. And like I find that the collaborative effort leads to something completely. I think if you go into it with no expectations, it pans out better. But if you're really trying to get something out of your head, I don't think it quite happens until like maybe a post thing, like here's the song, help me structure it. So like writing with Dee Dee, like because you helped him with Dee Dee King, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wrote the music. He wrote the lyrics.
Okay.
It was great working with him because he had notebooks full of lyrics. And, so I did a lot of rap stuff with him.
Cool. And like, what was that process like, or what did his process look like? Songwriting, was he just always writing, like, or did he have like a structured?
He always
thing?
wrote. He always wrote lyrics. I just said he had like a notebook full of words all the time. He wrote poems. He was a poet, a brilliant man, a poet. I'm not a poet. When I write words, it takes me a lot longer for my subject material and everything. But he would write about his AA meetings and all kinds of shit, and it was just great,
So it was just life.
I don't know about processes or nothing. I don't really go that way.
Yeah. The kind of bounce off that, like this new EP you put out, like Not Afraid. This song like sounds super, super tight. The chorus is super catchy. The lyrics are really well written, and it seems like
that's not my song. That's by Mark Diamond.
That's Mark Diamond.
The Dwarfs. He's even playing on it.
Oh, no way.
We were on tour together. I said, Mark, I'm waiting for you to write me a song. And finally, after like COVID and everything, he said, I got this song, and I heard it, and I was like, wow, interesting lyrics, and I did it, and that's Mark's song.
Okay. It's tight though. It's a good sound. It's a solid recording, my friend.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Because I was gonna say, kind of coming from Cellophane, it seemed like that dynamic was there of all those songs that were on that, and the process of it, like how all these songs build up. Cellophane, like it seems like every solo record just gets much more tighter in like how the structures of songs are coming, and like Not Afraid. Like I was like, that's it. It's right there. I'm
basically coming into my own with Cellophane. I really, my first record, I was experimenting, and then Cellophane came, and I'm coming into my own as an artist. I'm starting, took a while to really develop. You have to start all over if you're the singer. It's like a brand new person, so I'm happy where I'm at now. I'm going to finish the record in July, and I'll have my next album out early next year, and then that should be it.
Very cool. Are you working?
Really happy about this next record. It's going to be great.
Are you working with Paul on it?
Probably.
Yeah.
I'll probably record there because he's fast and, everything. Everybody, you do all this recording, everybody listens to it on a fucking iPhone speaker. So it's like silly to, I personally like, I have a board in my studio. I like the sound of, an SSL or something, but it just gets too expensive and not worth it in the 11th hour.
Right. Yeah. No, it is. It all is funneled through like small speakers or headphone speakers. So when
it's in the mastering. I am Mauer Applebaum. He's great master, and he masters it on analog, not digitally, and that's why it sounds so good like that. When you get it back, from him, it's like a whole new ball game. And then when you get radio compression on it, it really sounds good. Rodney Bingenheimer's been playing it every week now, so I'll probably play it tonight. He's probably playing it right now, 6:00 in LA.
So working with Paul, like, does he like help suggest like some like kind of like harmonies or like vocal?
No.
Like, no, he just like mixes it.
If I ask him, he will, but he doesn't.
Okay.
He's just fast, and he can edit fast. Like I'll go in on a weekend, cut 10 tracks in 2 days, and then do the singing and mix it. So another couple of days. Got to go fast.
Right.
Ramones too. I cut 14 tracks in just over a day and a half, and that was it. I was done.
That's a day and a half is like that's like it takes some other bands like years to.
No, you got to practice. In other words, you got to rehearse the songs. If you have your songs rehearsed, now you just put mics on it. But not everybody can play in the studio. The studio brings out every little tiny thing for drummers, for guitarists, for anything. It embellishes, your mistakes like by 100 times. So, and all your little clicks. So you got to know how to be a session guy.
Right.
That's why a lot of bands, different musicians are cutting the records and they just play live. Lots of bands are like that. They bring in studio cats to record the record.
Well, that was like all the movement in the '60s with like the Funk Brothers and like like the Motown groups. There was a session band. Were you doing sessions younger as well?
No.
Okay.
Not really sessions. Doing sessions was a hard thing to do, and now it's nearly impossible because of the drum machines. So I didn't really do that.
But anyway, this new record sounds amazing. Or new single. I know the new record's coming out. One other thing I wanted to ask you about was I found it interesting. So you're writing with piano. I heard a story or read a story somewhere that you introduced a minor chord to Johnny Ramone and he didn't know how to handle that.
No, he didn't. He didn't like playing the minor chords, and I told him like it created suspension, so he did it eventually. But it was a little bit of a hassle.
And was it like it's interesting? Like so you get in this like rut of comfort and like someone comes in and kind of shows you a new thing, there's usually kind of like some like, I don't want to even think about that, but then eventually becomes accepted. And it's interesting because like it sounded like Joey did that for you with like writing, but you also did a lot for Joey in the sense of like taking him out and showing him places, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, I got one more thing I want to ask you, then I'll let you go. Cool?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate your time. The one thing I want to kind of wrap up on is you just did a film, a few films that are coming out. So what was it? Yeah, what was it like acting compared to? Yeah,
it's really a lot of fun because it's new. It's new for me. You know, I'm learning a new craft, and you know, so it's really a lot of fun. Lots of laughs on the set, and you know, that's why I did that Cry Little Sister, because that's in Protege More where I play a vampire. So I covered that for the movie. That's, you know, on the flip side of the record. And that'll come out like Halloween, this movie. And there's a video for it too, but I'm waiting to put that out probably in a few more months. And then, yeah, so it's really good. I'm like, you know, I'm in Head Cheese the Movie, which is on Amazon right now. You know, Amazon Prime, if you have that. It's called Head Cheese the Movie, where I play myself working at a diner. So, you there?
Yeah. I was just
hold on. I just got to like. Okay, someone was trying to call on the phone. So
okay, very cool. Yeah, that from that first dining scene to the next scene that follows right after it, you jump right in. Like I watched the film the other night, and it's awesome. I like the puppet things.
They're all B-roll movies and stuff, but it's fun, you know.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Does performing help with acting, or has the acting help with the performing?
I don't know. You know, these questions are so deep. I don't know the answers to that. I don't really think that way in my life. I just do it. I just do. You know, If you have the it factor, you're way ahead of the game. I have the it factor. So, you know, if you don't have that, then, you know, it kind of limits you anyway as a musician or an actor. You know, you got to have something about you. You got to have something when that thing hits. Just looking at the camera, you know, that's like, wow, you know, so, you know, you just got to have it. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody can do everything. I'm fortunate enough where there's some talent that's not forced and it comes out and it's natural and it works and that's it, you know?
Yeah.
There's no premeditated planning. I like acting because it gets me into reading more and studying the scripts and the characters and research, which I never really get to do, you know? Writing songs is a dark hole. It's a really tough situation to be by yourself and in the corner and coming up with things, and you know, but that's work too, you know. Like people, you know, think you write songs as you're walking down the street. Well, or you get writer's block. You don't get writer's block. You just get lazy. You got to go in that room and sit there for hours and write the song, you know.
Right.
So it doesn't just pop into your head like magic. It's like any other job. This is a job, just different.
Well, that's it. There's that thing that grinds it out. But anyway, man, I really appreciate your time.
If you don't get everything you got, you know, we could talk again. But I could feel, you know, half hours is all I want to talk. See, the band's over there now, and I sit here for 2 hours. I got to relax my throat.
No, I totally get it, and I know
you're doing 20 nights in a row, 20 different cities, 20 nights.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Of this full energy show that just kicks ass, man. So tonight's going to be a good one.
Because you got a couple dates here in Ohio, and I'm excited to try to catch you at one of them. And but yeah, man, no, I really appreciate.
Yeah, let me know when you show up so I can say hello.
Will do. Psych. Not the ending. All right. So there's a part two. There's a part two of this, and we're about to hear it in a minute. So at the very end there, Richie was about to hit his gig, you know, and was getting worn out. Didn't really want to talk too much, and I can totally relate to that. And so I followed up with him. I had a couple more questions, and he made some time. And in between my gigs, I sat and talked with Richie for a bit in the van, right? So it's going to sound a little different, and it's going to have me be a little more, maybe a little more manic because I'm bouncing between gigs. But it was really cool. I was going to splice it up and kind of put it in what you just heard, but I think it flows pretty nice and like I don't know. I don't want to make it too inauthentic. So this was our part two to our conversation with me and Richie Ramone. I should have done it with a I should have done it in a Walmart. That would have been cool, right? Throwback to the Doyle episode. Check that one if you haven't heard. Anyway, here's me and Richie. I saw that you played recently in the last couple of years with the late great Taylor Hawkins. So I wanted to know if you can share maybe any memories of that gig or about his character.
Yeah, I never really played. I never played with Taylor. Um, I met him at the CBGB premiere, but I never played a gig with him. I don't know where that came from.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, we never really played a gig. He was a good guy, you know, and for the couple of times I met him, but no, I never played a show with him.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, and it's just fucked up, with these. He's had a little history of some problems in the past, and I think as we all get older, we got to be more, a little more careful, with what
Yeah.
we have in our bodies. I've lost a lot of friends that way. So, but anyway, yeah, I never played a gig with him. No.
Gotcha. I read that wrong, I guess, but yeah, cool, man. Another thing I wanted to like kind of diving in when we were telling me how songs would be brought up to the group, like you guys would kind of have a
Hmm.
session. When Bonzo Goes to Blitzburg was brought up, what was like your initial like thought hearing that song?
Well,
Because that's
Dee Dee wrote that, and everybody would come with their songs,
yeah,
and but John didn't like the title. He liked Reagan.
yeah,
He was a right winger, and the rest of us weren't. So uh, that's why it got changed in my brain. It's hanging upside down. So he didn't want it to be called Bonzo Goes to Bitburg.
that's because
So
that's like one of the all-time greatest Ramones songs, man. And
hmm
like, so was it initially like as soon as everyone heard it, did everyone know like, oh, this is gonna be a good one, or
um, I think when we hear everything for the first time, especially Joey would always look at me and say, this is the one, Richie. This is the one.
yeah,
For all those records and songs, but none of them were really the one.
yeah,
He just really wanted some kind of commercial success at one point. And unfortunately, the closest they ever got was the Phil Spector album.
right,
That was probably the highest charting album out of the Ramones history. That had "Baby I Love You" and that stuff on there. But, but he never really got to see that. I don't know why mainstream didn't like us. So
was it? Well, more trails. I think the Ramones changed more to music than the mainstream would have allowed. Um,
right, yeah. I mean, you can go on.
the thing I was thinking about was like the first record you recorded on was "Too Tough to Die," and like, or at least with the Ramones, and like going into that, like Johnny almost got killed. Like that's like a intense way to start a band.
It was early on in my career, so it's a funny story. So it's like I waited all my life for my wonderful break and a wonderful band. I couldn't ask for nothing better. And then, like a few months in, he gets his head knocked out, and I'm like, oh man, this is unbelievable, like, you know. But I went to the hospital and, saw him and everything, and it was great. He pulled through, but I thought that was the beginning of the end right there already,
Yeah,
because you really don't. Without one of I never thought like even Didi could be replaced. Once that front line was gone, you can keep flipping the drummers around, but they went on without Didi for all those years. So power to them.
yeah.
CJ was a good replacement.
And you and CJ played for the first time at Joey's birthday bash, right?
Was that the first time? Yeah. Possibly. I thought we did a show in Argentina.
Oh, okay.
The first
Wow.
time I went to Argentina was in 1987. That was the first time Ramones went there. So we went back. I think it was February 4th or something. We went back on the same historic day. Me, CJ, like all these years later. I think in 2018. I don't know, like 40 years later. I don't know what it was. 30, 87, 97, 2017. Like 35 years later, we played the same exact set as I did in '87. So that was really cool. It was really fun to just play drums, the whole
Yeah.
show, and not have to deal with singing like I have to do now. But it was a good. That was a fun show. I mean, people in tears and crying, and it was just so we haven't abused that privilege of our when we play together. It's a big event, so we can get one or two of those a year. We try to do some more, but we'll see what happens.
But yeah, no, and that's what makes like the birthday bash and those reunion shows so special.
Yeah.
And like and to be able special in Argentina where like rock bands like that don't roll through all the time. And I know the Ramones hit hard over there in like a lot of like Southern America or South American
Hmm.
states. But or states. I'm losing my mind. Um but but yeah, that's incredible. With singing, one that it adds a whole nother dynamic. Like, do I drink a coffee today? That if not, that's gonna ruin my voice later. It's like a whole nother thing to worry about. So I totally relate to
Hmm.
just being able to play and just get through the gig, or just enjoy the gig.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Um,
a different,
are you guys
different
doing the
thing.
birthday bash thing this year?
We're doing something, I talked to Mickey and he was like, God, it's so late, with COVID, he didn't know what to do. So we put together this little thing at some small club where there's going to be 20 fans who have submitted their, I'm going to play drums and I don't know who the rest of the band is. And they're going to come up and sing 20 different Ramon songs, sort of like a karaoke
Oh,
with
okay,
Richie Ramone type of thing. So, and then
sick.
there'll be, other people in the audience, type of thing. But we thought that would be fun. So it's sad for Mickey because he doesn't know what to do on that day. I
Yeah,
mean, if he's been doing this for 22 years, 20, I forget how many years he's had bashes. I mean, it started out the first one was in like a 3,000 seater, and it's dwindled in time, to less and less people. But you know, he wouldn't know what to do in celebration of his brother that day. It's been so long, so I felt I felt bad for him, so I came in and did this.
yeah. That's amazing. Like I don't know.
Otherwise, he'd sit home.
Right. You got to do something. You got to keep celebrate those
Yeah,
memories, and there's so many people that are moved by it. And
yeah, there are.
you've
Mhm.
stayed good with Mickey for a long time, right? Did you meet
Yeah.
him before?
Oh, yeah. I knew Mickey. Back in the Rattlers and everything. So there used to be the foursome that we would go out a lot when I joined the Ramones. It was my favorite foursome.
Yeah.
It was Mickey Lee, Joey Ramone, and Richie Stotts from the Plasmatics, and myself. And whenever we got in an elevator, I was the smallest guy of that group. Okay, I'm 6'3", and I was the smallest, which made it really nice. I didn't have to crunch.
Yeah.
I could look straight ahead at people, instead of looking down, hunched over. But I was the smaller. Stotts was big, like 6'8", Joey 6'5", Mickey 6'4", or Joey May almost 6'6", and me at 6'3". So it was a really tall crowd of guys roaming the streets of the East Village back in, the mid '80s.
That's amazing. How
Hmm.
did the Joey solo album that you recorded on? How did like were those like demos that Mickey had, or was that a whole project Joey was almost done with? Like, how did
Yeah,
that?
that was it was demos that one producer had, and so Daniel Ray,
Daniel
and
Ray. That's right.
he held on to these tapes, and there was a whole lawsuit that went down because they almost had to pay him to get these tapes,
Yeah.
and Ed Stasium took these tapes and cleaned them up and took his voice. I mean, Ed did a really good job. Ed, he did
Yeah.
Too Tough to Die. He did a lot of the early Ramon stuff, producing, and took these tapes, and then we added because I think there was just drum machines on the original, and then I went in, I cut drums on 4 or 5 of the songs. They used different drummers on that record. Bunny Carlos, and I forget a host of other guys, and that was something. It was just like tracking over that and hearing Joey's voice. It was so clear. It was like you could see him through the glass. It was kind of sad and kind of joyous at the same time recording those songs.
Yeah, I can't imagine that, because that's your brother in arms.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I know that voice so well. Joey. I never heard Joey sing a flat note or a pitchy note. He had perfect pitch.
Yeah.
Ever. Live, just go anything and watch him sing. You'll never hear like a funny note out of him. It's incredible.
That is incredible, especially with all the sounds coming from behind you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Daniel Ray was kind of like the secret sauce of the Ramones. He helped out a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get into too much with him. I had like a beef with him, but he came in at, towards the end, and they were tired of paying these producers and stuff. And Daniel came in really cheap and did the, a couple records. And then he went out, and after that got, a lot of gigs out of, after producing Ramones. He did really well for himself. It took off for his producing career. So, all the power to him, And now he's fine. He sold, Johnny's guitar, so he's got like $750,000 in his pocket. So he only paid $20,000 for it. So it's a nice investment, right?
Right, that paid back. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't know he sold it though. I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, it was an auction. It went for $1 million. That was Daniel, And, so yeah, he finally dumped it. I mean, so he's all good now.
Well, awesome,
he
man.
could sit home, and us misfits still need to be on the roads,
Right, but there's nowhere you'd rather be, right?
Right, nowhere.
Nowhere. Man, Richie, thank you so much for sitting and chatting with me.
Okay, sure.
This means a lot, and I really, really, really appreciate it, my dude.
Okay, yeah, plug the show for us, and I'll see you up there.
That in the Columbus.
All right.
All right, Richie. Take care, my friend.
Take care. Bye.
Later.